The 27th minute. Boston. The stands of the Gillette Stadium are plunged into a deafening silence. A VAR review that lasted over 3 minutes has just come to an end. The Argentine referee, Facundo Tello, has confirmed the foul by Nusser Mazraoui and pointed to the penalty spot. The man standing over the ball is Kylian Mbappé, known to the world as one of the most cold-blooded finishers in the game. But this time, something feels different. He has had to break his routine 3 times. He argued with the referee, and he is struggling to recalibrate his concentration. Finally, he strikes. Bounou dives to the right corner and palms the ball away. The captain of France, a man who hadn't missed in his last 15 penalties, is missing a World Cup penalty for the first time, not just since the 2020 European Championship, but for the very first time in his entire career. If the story had ended there, this video would never have been made. But this match was more than just a quarterfinal. This match was a curtain raiser to the final dance in North America for Didier Deschamps, who has been at the helm of France for 14 years, leading his country to a world title, 2 finals, and 4 consecutive major tournaments. Before this tournament even began, Deschamps announced that his contract would expire this summer and that he would be stepping down. With Zinedine Zidane waiting in the wings to take the throne, Deschamps had only one thing left in his hands: to write the history of his own legacy, with his own 2 hands. Standing in their way was an opponent that had suffered the same pain, with the same scoreline, just 4 years ago. In 2022, in Qatar, Morocco wrote one of the greatest fairy tales in the history of world football, becoming the first African and Arab nation to reach the semifinals, only to be eliminated by this very same France with that same 2-0 score. Now, the new generation of Atlas Lions, under the management of Ayyoub Bouaddi, was in Boston to exact revenge for that old wound. In this video, we aren't just going to talk about the score. We are going to break down the psychology of a missed penalty, second by agonizing second. We are going to examine the 7 saves Bounou made, building a wall in his goal that seemed impossible to breach. We will delve into the story of 18-year-old Ayyoub Bouaddi, the youngest player to start a World Cup quarterfinal since Pelé himself. And finally, we will discuss where this victory takes France and what kind of a grand finale this could be for Deschamps' final goodbye. Because we are here, as a neutral but passionate sanctuary that remembers the winner and the loser with the exact same respect. If you are ready to hear the story that the scoreboard refuses to tell, then let's begin.
Let's rewind the clock just a little bit. We are in the 27th minute, and France is relentlessly pressing to break the deadlock. Mbappé meets the ball inside the box and goes down after a challenge from Mazraoui. The referee, Tello, doesn't whistle initially, but the VAR room intervenes. And this is where things become a true case of micro-detail analysis. The duration of the review reaches 3 full minutes. Just imagine. For 3 whole minutes, a stadium of 65,000 people waits in total suspense, watching the referee look at the replays on the screen. For a footballer, that is more than enough time to shatter their concentration entirely. Mbappé's penalty routine is world-renowned. A few steps back, a deep, steady breath, and a fixed, ice-cold stare. But this VAR interruption broke that ritual, not once, but 3 times. In sports psychology, this is called a rhythmic rupture, where the athlete's muscle memory is forced to recalibrate due to an unexpected external break. Finally, the ball was placed. Mbappé struck it to the right, but the shot just wasn't sharp enough. Bounou dove in the right direction and saved it with ease. The French captain turned to the referee, pleading his case, but Tello had no intention of changing his mind. This wasn't just an ordinary miss. Mbappé had scored 15 consecutive penalties for the national team, and he hadn't missed since the 2020 European Championship against Switzerland. This was his first error in 6 years, and his very first World Cup penalty miss. For Bounou, this was the 4th penalty he has saved in his career, including shootouts. In that exact moment, both players were writing a completely different page in their respective careers, one defined by sudden frustration, the other by pure heroism. In truth, Bounou's night had begun much earlier. As early as the 4th minute, he denied Mbappé, and from the ensuing corner, he made an incredible reflex save on Upamecano's header, stopping the ball right on the goal line. By the time the penalty occurred, Bounou had already been tested twice, and had passed both tests with flying colors. That early warning was just a trailer for the performance the Moroccan goalkeeper would put on for the rest of the night. And right here, we arrive at the question that every great football story asks: is it the greatness of a player that they never fall? Or is it how they get back up the moment they do? Mbappe's answer would come in the rest of the match. The scoreboard may say 2-0, but the real story is hidden deep within the data. Let's look at the expected goals, the XG statistics. France produced 3.04 DXG in this match, while Morocco finished with a mere 0.14. That is a difference of roughly 21 times, a margin of superiority rarely seen in professional football. When we look specifically at the first half, the picture becomes even more striking. Morocco's XG value in the first 45 minutes was only 0.04. Statistically speaking, their probability of scoring in that first half was essentially near zero. Let's look at the shot counts. France took a total of 22 shots, 9 of which were on target. Morocco, meanwhile, could only manage 5 shots total, with only one of them actually troubling the keeper. If you look at the first half specifically, the gap becomes almost absurd. France forced Bounou to work with 9 different players, while Morocco's only shot was a free kick from Hakimi that didn't pose any real danger to the goal. Top possession, surprisingly, seemed to favor Morocco, officially 52% to 48%. But this statistic proves that this match was a classic case of misleading dominance. You can hold the ball all you want, but if your opponent forces you to waste it in a meaningless passing loop in your own half, that possession loses all its value. On the disciplinary side, the gap is just as clear. France didn't receive a single yellow card throughout the entire 90 minutes. Morocco finished the game with just 1 yellow card, coming from a challenge in the 63rd minute, just moments before the second goal. The corners were equal at 5-5, but even this statistic was merely a byproduct of France's relentless pressure. Most of those corner kicks arose from the Moroccan defense panicking and clearing the ball out of play. So, what are these numbers really telling us? This wasn't a game where Morocco played badly. This was a game where France played near-perfect football. The fact that a Morocco side, missing Saibari, managed to concede only 2 goals against one of the world's greatest attacking lines was, in reality, a personal success story for Bounou. We will get to that in a moment. But first, let's deconstruct how this dominance manifested on the pitch and break down the birth of those 2 goals, second by second. Sometimes the best way to describe a moment is to give it a name. Let's label the 2 goals from this match with our own concepts. The first, the instant recovery reflex, and the second, the shadow run. When we reach the 60th minute, Mbappé meets the ball inside the penalty area. He gathers his feet, lifts his head, and sends the ball into the corner, to a spot where Bounou simply cannot reach. This goal, curling into the back of the net, wasn't just a strike that opened the score. It was a direct rebuttal to the frustration of 33 minutes earlier. This is exactly what the instant recovery reflex is, the capacity of an athlete to return to the stage with the same intensity, without counting the minutes passed since their greatest error. This goal brought Mbappé his 20th World Cup goal, in his 20th match, an incredible ratio, and it brought him level with Lionel Messi at 8 goals in this summer's tournament. The Golden Boot race was ignited once again in the final march of these 2 giants. 4 minutes later, in the 66th minute, the second goal arrived, and this time, the true hero was hidden within an invisible movement. Mbappé cut at speed toward the defense with the ball. His threat was so immense that Mazraoui couldn't decide whether to track him or hold his own position. This is what the shadow run is, a player who either doesn't have the ball or is about to give it up, splitting the mind of a defender just by their presence alone, forcing them into an impossible choice. Mazraoui's half-second of hesitation opened exactly the space that Ousmane Dembélé needed. Dembélé took the ball, cut inside, and with a low strike, sent it past Bounou into the net, his 5th goal of the tournament. The ball, grazing Bounou's hand, was the only moment that cast a shadow over the goalkeeper's perfection that night, but to hold a goalkeeper who had been under such pressure, to that one moment would be an injustice. When we put these 2 goals side by side, the picture that emerges is this: France's attacking line can deploy individual brilliance and collective intelligence at the very same time. One is a clinical finish that makes one forget a mistake in a matter of seconds. The other is the void created by an invisible, selfless movement. When these 2 come together, you are facing one of the most difficult attacking lines in the world to stop. If we read this match through the template of a hero's journey, Mbappe's story is divided into 3 acts: the fall,
the rise, and the price. We have already covered the fall that missed penalty in the 27th minute, the first shadow to ever fall over the flawless record of his 6-year career. We have seen the rise, the goal and the assist in the 60th and 66th minutes, the golden boot race drawn level with Messi, and that historic statistic, 20 goals in 20 matches. But the third act is the one that escaped the eyes of most viewers. In the 77th minute of the match, Mbappé was substituted. Just moments before, he was filmed on the sidelines with an ice pack on his foot, a clear sign of discomfort in his right ankle region. He left the pitch on his own power, he waved to the stands. But this image will become one of the most talked about topics in the French camp in the days ahead. With a semi-final week looming, the health of your greatest weapon is always your greatest vulnerability. Heroism doesn't always come free. This scene fits perfectly into the narrative of Mbappé's career. He is a player who is constantly forced to perform one step ahead of expectation. The 8 goals he has scored in this tournament are not just an individual success, they are also a testament to the weight of responsibility that France places upon his shoulders. The fact that a player wearing the captain's armband can carry his team immediately after his own mistake can be read as one of the purest forms of the concept of leadership. If you truly want to understand a football story, you should not look at the brightest moment of a player, but what they do after their most fragile one. Mbappé made a mistake like a human being in the 27th minute. He answered back like a legend in the 60th and 66th minutes. And in the 77th minute, he reminded us once again that he is only human. Now, let us turn to the other side of the coin, because the vision of this channel always remains the same, to tell the story of both the winner and the loser with the exact same respect. There was a team that lost tonight, but among those defeated, there were names who deserved to be spoken of just as much as the victors. Bounou's performance was one of the most courageous displays of goalkeeping in this entire tournament. Throughout the match, he made 7 saves, according to official data, the highest individual contribution among the 22 players on the pitch. 2 consecutive saves in the 4th minute, stopping Mbappé's penalty in the 27th minute, a low, diving save in the 54th minute against Doué, who had slipped past Bouaddi, and the moments at the end of the first half where he truly earned his luck as Digny's shot rattled the post. Bounou has now added to his legacy the title of being a goalkeeper who has stopped a World Cup penalty for the 4th time in his career, including shootouts. If Morocco lost 2-0 tonight, and not 5-2, a huge part of that is hidden within the gloves of this man. And then, there is 18-year-old Ayyoub Bouaddi. The moment this young midfielder stepped onto the pitch, he made history. He became the youngest player to appear in a World Cup quarterfinal since 1958, the previous owner of that record being the legend Pelé, who had led Brazil to a championship at that very same age. Bouaddi hasn't found a goal or an assist in this tournament yet, and his name has been recorded with 3 shots. But beyond those statistics, simply being able to start in a World Cup quarterfinal at 18 years old is a success story in its own right. The next 10 years of Moroccan football will likely rise upon the shoulders of names just like him. One of the biggest reasons why Morocco remained so quiet tonight wasn't even on the pitch. The tournament's top scorer, Ismail Saibari, could not play due to a hamstring injury. The absence of Saibari, who had scored in all 3 group stage matches and who took the decisive kick in the penalty shootout against the Netherlands in the round of 16, explains exactly why the Moroccan attack felt so toothless tonight. Yet, it would be a great injustice to underestimate the journey this team has taken to get here. They avoided defeat against Brazil in the group stage, beat Canada 3-0 in the round of 32, and eliminated the Netherlands on penalties in the round of 16. Reaching the quarterfinals for the 2nd consecutive time and a historic semifinal 4 years ago. This squad continues to write a testament of consistency for African and Arab football. Tonight was not a final farewell. It was a learning pause. Now, let's turn our gaze to the side, to the manager's dugout, because this match carried a meaning far beyond the 11 players on the pitch. Didier Deschamps has been at the helm of France since 2012, a 14-year tenure, a number that no other manager in this tournament has even come close to. Last year, he announced with his own words that his contract would expire this summer, and that he would not be renewing it. It is widely known that Zinedine Zidane is ready to take the seat, meaning this tournament is the final chain of matches on the pitch for Deschamps, and this final lap is anything but ordinary.
In this tournament, Deschamps became only the third manager in football history to manage the same national team in 4 consecutive major tournaments before him. Only Walter Winterbottom and Helmut Schoen had achieved this feat. With his victory against Iraq in the group stage, he equaled Schoen's record of 16 World Cup victories, and when he defeated Sweden 3-0 in the round of 32, he left that record behind, marking a historic 17th victory, a success that FIFA officially announced after the match. This win against Morocco has added yet another to his collection. Deschamps lifted the trophy as a player in 1998 and lifted it once again as a manager in 2018. He reached the final in 2022, but had to bow out to Argentina on penalties. Now, in the final turn of his career, he is on a path that could lead him to a third final and perhaps a second championship. If France makes it past the semi-final, they will become only the third country in history to reach 3 consecutive finals. Only a handful of teams have ever achieved this success. Think of this as the final gift that a man preparing to leave his job is trying to give to himself. While the players on the pitch were scoring their goals, there was a man on the sidelines watching this picture unfold, perhaps in the most emotional tournament of his entire career, silently hoping for the most beautiful farewell his team could give him. The beauty of football is hidden right here. Sometimes a quarterfinal victory is not just 3 points or reaching the next round. It is a sentence about how a chapter of a person's life is coming to an end. Now, let's come to perhaps the most striking layer of this story, the coincidence of the numbers. December 14th, 2022, Al Bayt Stadium, Qatar. France, the then world champion, had defeated Morocco 2-0 in the semi-final and carved its name into that legendary final against Argentina. That night, the goals were scored by Theo Hernandez in the 5th minute with an acrobatic finish and Randall Kolo Muani, who, only 44 seconds after entering the pitch, scored with his very first touch, marking the 3rd fastest goal by a substitute in World Cup history. 4 years later, those same 2 teams met again, this time in Boston, and the scoreline was 2-0 once again. This is something beyond mere coincidence. It is proof that football sometimes tells the same story, over and over again, with different players on different stages. 7 names from that 2022 squad were in France's starting 11 tonight, and on the Moroccan side, 4 names lived through the ghosts of that Qatar night. One more time. There is an interesting difference, though. In 2022, the second goal came from a 44-second explosion by a substitute who had just stepped onto the pitch. In 2026, however, the second goal came from the cold-blooded partnership of 2 stars who had already been playing for 66 minutes and were in total command of the match's rhythm, Mbappé and Dembélé. One was a moment of shock. The other was the natural result of patient dominance. 2 different paths led to the same result. Morocco's heart has been broken once again. For Morocco, this is a farewell experience against the same opponent for the 2nd time in a row. But let's not forget, this is the team that rewrote a nation's football history in 2022, heralding the first semi-finalist from the African and Arab world, and 4 years later, they are still among the 8 best teams in the world. Once may be a coincidence, twice might be a trend. But this trend is proof that Morocco is no longer a surprise, but a consistent, enduring power. And do not forget, the Golden Boot race is not over yet. Mbappé, with 8 goals, is neck and neck with Messi, and both are still in the tournament. Considering that Cristiano Ronaldo's World Cup story closed in this tournament with a defeat in the round of 16 against Spain, decided by Mikel Merino's extra-time goal. What we will watch next week might well be one of the final pages that the 2 greatest names of this generation will write against each other in the last World Cup of their careers. In this channel, we have always made the same promise, to tell the story beyond the scoreboard, through the eyes of both the winner and the loser, with neutrality, but with passion. We look at Morocco's farewell this evening, and France's next step, with the exact same respect. What will you remember most from this match? The penalty miss, or the goal? Bounou's saves, or Bouaddi's historic night? Let's meet in the comments.
In the next video, we will be here with a detailed analysis of the Spain-Belgium quarterfinal and France's semifinal opponent. Until then, we will continue to be a safe harbor in the chaos of football. See you soon.